Greetings and welcome to Studio 125 Multimedia Complex, where our mission is to provide a safe, positive platform for the community to share their life journey. I am your host, Natasha Janelle, and today I am honored to sit with Soyini Walton. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am absolutely wonderful. You look
Good.
absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Gratitude for coming to share your journey with us. It has been a pleasure
Mhm.
to speak with you and to learn about your life's experiences. And I'm just ready for the world to know and to
Yeah.
share and provide your tools. So
Mhm.
yes, ma'am. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on today. This is truly an honor. Um, First thing you'll probably notice in our office here is it's purple, and that color is very intentional because actually this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the month of October. And I just want to say that because it's kind of important to what we're going to talk about today. But I just wanted to just kind of have a relaxed conversation about an experience that happened to me that I never expected, that totally reshaped the direction of my life and kind of brought me face to face with my life's purpose. So my name again is Soyini Walton, and I am an Oakland, California native, born and raised. All the way through college. I actually graduated from college at Cal State University, East Bay, and that was an awesome experience. But my life, I was kind of prepared for that. I'm the oldest of three children, so I was raised in a two-parent home. The oldest, I have two younger brothers, and we were just always. My parents never directly told us to, specific things, but we always knew that we wanted to be excellent in life, and that we wanted to make our parents proud. And what that meant was, doing something productive with your life. And I took that very seriously because I know my parents, they dedicated so much of their life and everything to us. So I always felt the need to just, make them proud. And I know my brothers would say the same thing. So I absolutely had a very, very, very normal, very just good childhood. Like I mentioned, I grew up in Oakland. So at the time that I was growing up, Oakland, it was just like, to me, it was the Black Mecca of the West Coast. In the neighborhood, we lived in a really nice part of Oakland, and our entire community was just full of, Black families with the mother and the father there. Just a great place to be. I can remember just getting up in the morning, especially during the summer, getting on my bike and just, riding up the street to one of my friends' house. Then we rode around the neighborhood, got with our other friends, and I just had a wonderful time. School was walking distance. So Oakland at that time was just a great place to be, great place to grow up in. There was lots of just fun things to do. As I, got to my teenage years, just a lot of fun stuff, just like any other teenager, I guess, having your friends, going to parties, talking about college and just enjoying life. So I was very fortunate in that way. I never had any, big like childhood traumatic experiences. My parents, they were together till death do you part. My father, he actually just passed away in 2018, but my parents are married, for gosh, almost 50 years, I think it was when he passed away. So my parents, they were together, their relationship, their marriage. I don't think I might have seen my mom and dad argue maybe once or twice in my entire life, but there was never a time where there was any abuse. They were both very respectful to each other. And so that was the example that I actually, took in. Like I knew that in my relationship, I knew I always wanted to be married. So I knew one day I wanted to have what my mom and dad had. That was the plan.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. A lot
Yeah.
of Black families,
Mhm.
that is not the dynamic,
I know. I
you
know.
know? So just to be fortunate enough to have that, that is absolutely awesome.
I think
I
about
just
that
want
all
to
the
say
time,
that.
Natasha. That is so true. And you take it for granted. Then you get out in life, you're like, wow, like this is not the norm.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that something? It's like that's not the way things usually are.
Right. That's one of the biggest things that we do
Mhm.
here with wanting to bring that awareness to try
Yes.
to build that solid foundation
Mhm,
with the
mhm.
man, the woman, and the children, and
Right.
that mutual respect and communication.
Yes,
That is it's rare.
I
A lot
agree.
of women are and men are and children, with
Mhm.
communication is broken there.
Right.
And to have that foundation to come from that, that was an absolutely amazing thing to hear. When I heard you talking about it, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
sound like a TV show, right? We would
Yeah.
watch families like you describe on TV.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and it's so funny, I always tell like, I would always tell my parents, like, I just thank them for that, that time in my life because I'm like, that truly is the foundation for your life. Your childhood just shapes you, it gives you I think we have a good childhood, it just gives you, like a certain confidence that you just will take with you throughout life. So in having that experience, I knew there's a certain way that a man treats a woman, and there's a way that a woman treats a man. Like I knew that, and so I guess it was unconscious at the time, but now that I think about it, I'm like, wow, that was just in me because of what I saw. Family reunions and seeing aunts and uncles and family, my grandparents, just seeing all of that, it just informed me of this is what, life is about. This is how people who love each other, treat each other. So that was strong for me. I'm thankful. Very
Right. I'm
thankful.
thankful to listen to it. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's a blessing.
when you were in college, you also
Mhm.
traveled abroad as well.
I did. So one thing that I just have always loved, and I think that's also growing up in the Bay Area, like Oakland. I grew up in Oakland. Like I said, there's like Berkeley is, it's another city, with UC Berkeley. There's San Francisco, so it's a very like diverse international, area, the whole Bay Area, and so because of that, I was always from just being a child, I was exposed to different cultures. So that's something I kind of always had in the back of my mind. I was like, gosh, I would love to go travel abroad one day. There were in Oakland, there were, a lot of different Asian Americans. There were different, we had a lot of Mexicans, other Latinos. We had people just from literally all over the world. Like I've eaten so many different types of food. And that was also the appeal to me to travel abroad, try different, some good international cuisine. So yeah, that idea was in my head since I was in high school to travel. And when I was at in my undergrad college, I think it was my marketing professor started telling us about because he used to talk to us about international business, and he told us that our school actually had a foreign exchange program. And so I inquired about that, and I found out, how to apply, and all of that. And so at that time, our school had a sister university in China, so we had a sister university with Beijing College, and so I went there. I went and I studied for like a semester in Beijing and Shanghai. So I got to just be there and like really soak up the culture. There were probably like maybe 25 to 30 of us that were in the group, students mostly, and there were maybe like 10 adults, 10 other people from the community who were somehow affiliated with the university. And we were all there. I did tons of stuff. Like we went to fashion shows there. We went to the Beijing Stock Exchange, which was
Mhm.
incredible. We went to a lot of different like tea gardens, because tea is really popular, obviously in China. So we went to a lot of places like that. We went to local businesses, checked those out. We went to some Buddhist temples. Got to see all the different images of Buddha. There was a black Buddha a few
Mhm.
times that I saw that I was totally surprised by. We got to see like culturally, one thing that stood out to me was that the Chinese really, they're really about like family as well. And there's just a lot of communal interaction that you see going on. So for example, you just be walking down the street and you'd see a lot of, older people doing Tai Chi, just,
Mhm.
in the street, just doing Tai Chi. You saw everybody, on their bikes. You saw people sitting down playing like different little board games. So it was like a different life that I saw there, and it was great. It was really wonderful. I got to learn a few words in Mandarin. And what else? Gosh, we did so much stuff. We went to, we did a lot of stuff for the arts. So we went to a couple of different like Chinese productions. It
Mhm.
was wonderful. We did like this was so fun too. We actually were on the cruise. We went on the cruise on the Yangtze River, and so that was great as well. So
I I
I
know
had
one
a blast.
a few things stuck out to me though,
Mhm.
about how family oriented they are and how
Yeah.
much respect they have for the elders there,
Oh yeah.
which is something that
Yep.
is so absent here in the
So
US.
absent. True. That's
Yeah,
true. It's true.
and
Mhm.
no homeless.
Mm-mm. It isn't that, and I forgot to say that there were like in the 5 to 6 weeks I was there, I didn't see any homeless people, which I thought was incredible. And I think I did ask one of the tour guides, and it's because the family, no matter what's going on, your family takes you in. So there's no reason to be homeless. You're gonna go get help from an aunt or an uncle or a cousin. Some family member is going to help you.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, wow. So
Right.
you have like this safety. And I was amazed also that a lot of the Chinese people that I talked to that were like part of our like tour guides, they knew so much about Black culture, about African American culture. And I was just like, wow. Like I was like, wow, you guys, they knew us. They knew a lot about our history, and they're big on history and their culture and preserving it. There's a lot of appreciation for culture, and that's also just great. I noticed that the grandparents were also involved with helping with the grandchildren. So you had that component too. There's all these things that I noticed that help shape like community. Nobody was alone.
Yeah, I love it, especially the
Mhm.
history that they preserve where it
Oh
shows
yeah.
where our connection is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
this is
why they have
cool.
that black Buddha, huh?
I know. I know. It's like, okay. Okay. That was cool. That was really cool to see. Really
So
cool. Mhm. Oh, and
so
I did walk the Great Wall, so I'm just thinking about all the pictures I have. So I got to walk the Great Wall. That was so fun. That was so, so fun. I have tons of pictures from
wow.
that, and so I'm 5'10", I'm tall, and everybody always thinks that, like, Asians are so short, but the Mongolians and further up north, like, a lot of those ladies, when I went to the fashion show, they
Mhm.
were, like, 6 feet and higher. A lot of the volleyball players, like yeah, there's all these perceptions that people have about China. I was like, "Wow, this is amazing just to see it for myself and
Right,
see how different it really is."
right. So they're
Mhm.
as diverse as we are
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. So, yeah,
So
that was wonderful, though. Best experience ever. That was great.
it sounds like it. I
Mhm.
feel like it's a great experience just listening to
Yeah.
you. Like I can just imagine. Well,
Yeah.
my day is coming. I'll be there. So
Yep.
in 2009,
Mhm.
was the time where you had an experience that
Yeah,
pretty much shaped the rest of your life.
absolutely.
So let's talk about it. When
Yeah.
you met 2009, Mr. 2009
Yeah.
at the
We
music
don't
festival.
we don't say names here.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, after I did the summer abroad in China, I came back here, graduated college. I worked for, like, 1 year I was a manager at a Bank of America here in San Francisco, and I got the idea that I wanted to try something outside of being a manager. So I got a job actually at Xerox in Washington D.C. as a sales rep, which was perfect for my personality because I love meeting people, and I just figured I'd be good at sales. I just wanted to try it out, and so I moved from Oakland to basically to the DC area
Mhm.
and got the job there. Love being in DC. The DC area is great. It's so fun. It was kind of like Oakland. It was like home a little bit.
Mm.
So I like DC a lot. So I worked there. Just I kind of set up roots there. I bought a house. I was able to buy a house on my own, and then I actually you get to that point in your life where you're like thinking like, oh, it's time to get married and settle down. I got to that point. And when I got to that point, I just started thinking about, just kind of thinking about the kind of guy I want to meet and all this stuff. And one day, my cousin from Los Angeles had actually come out, and we went to a music festival in Baltimore. At the time, I lived maybe like 15 or 20 minutes from Baltimore, so we went there, and I wound up meeting this guy, and just kind of like out of nowhere, it was kind of like we were sort of drawn to each other for some weird reason. Like I
Mm,
just kind of looked up, and he was right there. He saw me, I saw him, and we just kind of started talking. But I do know my earliest memories of that was remembering that from the second, like literally the second he opened his mouth and we started talking, I was like, oh, there's something, like I just felt something that was a little like, huh, you know,
mhm,
I'm a pretty intuitive person. So I didn't know necessarily what that was, but I knew I felt and I sensed something, but I kind of ignored it. And so we started like dating pretty quickly. And we just sort of became exclusive like quick as well.
mm,
And so I was thinking like, okay, this is cool. I'm on my timeline, right? We have these ideas where we want to be and what we want to do and just pushing forward. And in hindsight, when I look back, I wish I would just kind of slowed myself down and allowed things to just kind of just to relax a little bit. If I just whenever I think back to that or anything in life, it's good to just kind of have a calm approach to it and not be too pressed.
right,
And to be honest with you, Natasha, at that time, I think I was a little bit too eager to, get married and stuff. And in that, just kind of, I wasn't thirsty like that, but, I was ready to, like get married. And so I think the things that I would have normally like looked at and just like, I don't know about that. I kind of ignored it.
mhm,
I was like, okay, he's different from other guys I've, dated or whatever. But I was like, he's cool. Physically, he was very attractive and all that stuff. So I think I'm just being honest with you. I just
right,
focused on that instead of what I should have been focused on. And so we were dating. And then like early on, I remember calling my good girlfriends and I was like, girl, this guy, I was like, he's cool. I was like, we don't argue or anything, but there's just something a little bit strange about him. I didn't know what I was sensing, but I knew it was something like just something that I was feeling, something that made me very, very uneasy. You know how when you don't have evidence of a problem, but you're just like, I'm not feeling this, like something isn't right.
yeah, the
And
intuition
and
kick in,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's just like, something's not right, but I just kind of kept having that. And I was like, after a while, I was like, this is too much time spent like this. Because my friend, she was like, well, if there's nothing that's happened, maybe you're just, overanalyzing it or whatever. So I dismissed that intuitive guide. And I wish I didn't do that, but I did. And I just kind of was like, okay, so I'm going to keep on seeing him, and he used to always tell me, like, I'm a good guy. I'm a, kind of like I'm a good catch. I'm a good guy. And he used to always say that. And
mhm,
I remember one time I told him, I said, if you're that good of a guy, you don't have to tell me. I'll know it. Like, you don't need to let me figure that out. You know what I mean? And so after dating or whatever for a while and me having that little feeling about, I'm not really feeling all the way 100% about this, then I just finally decided, I was like, I need to get out of this relationship. So I just told him, I was like, this really, this isn't working for me. And I was like, I just, I want to, stop seeing each other. And so that kind of caught him off guard. He didn't yell or get mad or anything, but he was just like, well, what's wrong? And I was just like, I just don't feel right. And, I think we just moved too fast or whatever. So we broke up. And kind of like almost immediately that next day, he just started blowing my phone up and texting me and kind of just stopping off over to my house. And I was like, at first I was like, okay, this might be sort of normal. You just broke up or whatever. And he's starting to, really see that I'm serious. And so that whole process got worse and worse and worse. It was like a serious progression
mm,
from just calling like that a lot and then just stopping by the house to when he would knew that I was going to be working or doing something like that, he'd kind of be in the neighborhood just circling around.
mm,
One of my neighbors told me, he was like, yeah, I saw your boy. And I was like, what was he doing over here? Then I used to get these strange, like, these really strange, like, letters somebody would put on my windshield in the car. And I kind of knew it was him, just be like, oh, I saw you in the neighborhood, some BS like that. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking like, okay, this is kind of getting weird. And one day I got this call from my youngest brother. He was in college in the Midwest at the time. And he's like, yeah, he was like, my coach, he was playing football there. And he's like, yeah, my coach just said that, 2009 called and he wanted to speak to me. And I was like, what? I was like, you haven't even met him. He was like, yeah, I know. And he said, I just told my coach, I don't want to talk to dude. I don't know him. And I was like, this is weird. So that's when I was like, okay, this is not normal. This is wrong. Then I get a call one day from my pastor at church. And he's like, hi, Soyini, are you doing okay? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking like, I'm kind of looking at my phone like, why is the pastor calling me? Like, this is weird. And he was like, yeah, I just got a call from, 2009. And he said, you guys are having some problems. And I was like, no, we're okay, kind of thing. And so that was weird. And I remember at that point, I told one of my guy friends, I was like, I need to do something about this. Like maybe I need to get a restraining order or something.
Right.
I had never heard, I had never had a restraining order or whatever, but I knew just watching TV shows or just living, you kind of hear that term, but you never really think about you might need it one day. And so my friend, he went with me to, the court and, I was filling out the paperwork and got the restraining order. And that didn't help me.
Mhm.
It intensified everything.
Wow.
It got worse. Then there would be these banging on my door at like, 1 o'clock in the morning. Just a lot of stuff that just had me so uneasy that I used to just sleep with the knife under my pillow because I knew he knew my house. You know what I mean? He knew like he'd been to my house tons of times. And that's when I started to get just terrified. Like I would be at home sometime and I would just start crying, because he was calling my friends and he called my father and he was telling my dad that he wanted to marry me and all this crazy stuff. He just had a lot of strange behavior like that. And I started to feel like this is not going to end well. And I knew that in my spirit. I knew that. And I knew that there wasn't anything I could do because I would call the police when he'd be banging on the door. Then I'd call the police. By the time they got there, he was gone. So
Mm.
the police were always looking at me like, oh, it's so cute. Like almost like she's fighting with her boyfriend. Like almost like they didn't take it serious because
Right.
we weren't married, we didn't have children. So I guess the police just thought, I don't know, they just didn't take it seriously. And I felt so vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like this isn't going to end well. I'm in danger. The police they're not taking it seriously. The judge he's done all he can do. Like, you know, I
Right.
was scared.
It's almost like that protection order they say
Yeah.
when there's a actual situation where they really need to step in at
Right.
this point. So what am I supposed to do? Just throw the paper at them? Like,
Exactly.
hey, don't come here. I'm gonna throw this paper at you.
Right. And
Like,
that's and I, when I talk and share the story, I tell people, hey, for some people that might work. But in my situation, it didn't do anything. It was like, oh well, so what?
but that's a lot of people though.
Yeah, I guess
It
so.
usually does intensify because
Yeah.
getting the law involved pisses them off.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
And I found out later after everything happened that a lot of ladies he had kind of had that behavior with other women.
Mhm.
And, they would kind of they would drop the whole idea of getting the restraining order or whatever because he would kind of threaten them. And for me, I was like, no, I'm doing this. And then when he would violate it, I kind of was going to go back to court to take him to court for just violating it and just,
Right.
really becoming a stalker.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do want to highlight something right here though, is
Okay.
that having language for this stuff is so important. I don't think domestic violence never entered my mind. The
Mhm.
word stalking never really entered my mind at the time. Just restraining order, I had just kind of casually heard about that. And I just wish now that I would have had the sense to get online and like Google or just do some research to find out, what to do. I didn't know that there were domestic violence centers that can like help and stuff like that. So if anybody knows someone who's going through something similar, definitely take it serious, and as soon as you start seeing these signs, do something about it. I don't know if that would have changed things for me, but sometimes I just wonder maybe things would have been a little different, just maybe.
What when you are unaware of how to identify these things because
Mm-hmm.
you've never seen them, you
Yeah.
know, right? And that's the great thing about today is you're able to
Hmm.
provide those identifiers for people so that
Right.
they can and encourage people, hey, do your research, find out if it's not sitting right with you,
Yeah.
go talk to someone, do your
Yeah.
research, find out what you can do to protect yourself. So
Do
that
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and for me, but I mean, all this stuff, I mean, I'm telling you kind of story, but it was happening so fast. It's like the breakup and then all these different strange behaviors, which I now, after that, figured out, oh my God, he was stalking me. Like
Right.
he was literally focused on me. He was stalking me. And what abusers tend to do is they'll like take whoever the victim is and they'll kind of go around your whole circle of influence and just contact. That's why he was contacting my father, my brother, the pastor at my church, the friends of mine that he knew. He was just kind of trying to, and it was always like, oh, she's wrong. Soyini is, she's wrong. She broke up with me for nothing. It was like he was just trying to isolate me out.
Right. Oh
The
my
people in my life, they know me, so they knew, and they knew what was going on, so he couldn't fool them. But that's a typical pattern,
how long did the stalking last?
It lasted for like probably about like 6 months. 6 months. And so what's so funny is that there was this intense stalking, and then sometimes it would stop for like a week or something. So I still remember like around Christmas time, I had, I told you I lived in Maryland, but I had flown back to Oakland for the holidays. And
Mhm.
when I was here, you know, I remember I had a horrible dream that night of something really bad happening, like him killing me. And it was so scary that I just woke up out of my sleep and I was like, oh my gosh, it was just so vivid.
Mm.
And at that time, he had stopped the calls. Everything was normal. I got back to Maryland. January was okay. New Year's was okay. Everything was kind of normal. And I remember going to my church. I was going to a church in Baltimore at the time, and I went there, and I just remember like the class was all about forgiveness. I took a
Mhm.
class up there on forgiveness, and so I was like trying to forgive him just for this hell that my life had become.
Right.
And I just remember everybody in the class was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right. I just got a lot on my mind, because I was like looking tired and worn at that time.
Mm.
I wasn't really eating like that because I was nervous. When I get nervous or emotional, I just tend not to eat. And I just looked tired because I wasn't sleeping. I had the knife under my pillow, so I looked like somebody that was going through it. And at the time, I guess I was thinking, I didn't think I looked like that, but obviously people and anybody with discernment and a spiritual nature can see that that she's going through a lot. And so I still remember after the class, I just drove home. It was like 30-minute drive, and I remember like everything that night was so surreal. Like I still remember how cold it was. I remember what I had on. And I just remember like driving and like that 30 minutes was like, it felt like an hour. It was it was very slow and like my soul was preparing for something. It was just like getting me prepared, like, okay, like something's about to happen. So this is January 14th, and I got off the highway, and like I just remember like my townhouse. I pulled up to the development. There was like a right turn you make at the light, and I just remember real quick. It was like he's here. It was like this real, and it was like it was like he's here, and I just remember thinking, no, he's not. And I said, no, he's not, because I hadn't seen him in a while at this time. I hadn't had the calls and stuff like that, the drive-bys. So I was like, okay, you know. And I just remember when I pulled in front of my house, I just kind of, I was just sitting there and I was just waiting because I was like, something is very strange about tonight. And I remember getting out of my car. And as soon as I got out of the car, I had my Bible in my hand and I got out the car and I just was holding it and I had some papers in my hand from church. And when I got out and I just heard my name, it was his voice. I was just like, oh my God. And I didn't even like, I couldn't breathe. And he just, I turned around, I saw him, he was walking towards me. And it was like a ghost was walking towards me. It was just, I was terrified. And I remember like, have you ever been so scared and so terrified that you just say what you're thinking? Like that's what I did. And I was just like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm scared. And I was just like shaking. And the papers fell out of my hand on the right. And I just remember I had my Bible and I was just shaking. I was like, I'm so scared. I was like, why are you here? And he was just like being so calm about it. He was just like, come on, we got to talk. And he just grabbed my arm and he like started like walking me like he was like walking me like I'm a kid or something. He just grabbed my arm. He was like pushing me so I could get up the stairs. And the whole time I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I could hear myself saying that. I was like, I'm so scared. Why are you here? And I was just terrified. And we got to the steps of of the house to my front door. And I remember looking at him and I was thinking like, if he gets me in this house, he's gonna kill me. I just remember that. And I looked at him and he was tall. He was like 6'5" or something. And I just remember looking up at him and I was just like, what's in your pocket? Because I saw something bulging out of his pocket. And he was like, no, it's just the keys. Let's go in. And he like shoved me super hard, like almost like he's trying to push me through the door. And I just remember I had my key in there, and all I had to do, if I would have turned the key, I would have fallen right in because he pushed me that hard. And I just remember like I was just like, God is gonna be either me or him tonight. And I just remember saying it's not gonna be me. And I don't know where that came from, but I think after all of those months, I was so angry with him for taking my life and just turning it in. It was like hell. I could never sleep. I wasn't eating. I was not rest. My soul was just chaotic because I was scared. You don't know when somebody is stalking you or, victimizing you, you don't know when that day is going to be. You just know it's going to happen because things can't just go like that forever. Something it's got to end some way.
Right.
And I just remember like I just pulled that key out of the door and out of the key out of the door and I was just like, no, I was like, whatever you gotta say it to me out here. Because I was thinking if he kills me, I need him to do it outside. So I don't just sit in my house and, you know, he's killed me. And I just remember I started walking down the steps and I looked up and I saw my neighbor across the street. She kind of knew what was going on because I'd been telling my neighbors what's going on. And she was just kind of looking. And I wanted to scream so loud for her attention. I wanted her to know, like, he's about to, hurt me. And I remember she was like deliberately looking and trying to stall because she was trying to figure out what to do. And I just remember him like, he was like, the whole time he was like, you're ruining my life, And I was like, I just don't want to be with you anymore. And he was like, you know what I'm trying to do in life and you're ruining my life. And he's just like saying all these things to me. And then I was trying to make a turn to get like to my next door neighbor's house because I was going to go bang on his door and get in there. And like, I just remember I turned around and like, he pulled out like a gun. And I just remember seeing it and just saying inside, like, oh my God, like my neighbors told me that I screamed really loud. I don't even remember screaming, but I just remember, and I remember him, he shot me. And it was like, it's nothing like TV. It was all like so fast and so slow at the same time. And I just remember him doing it. And I remember like just, I guess with the bullet and everything, the way the speed of it, I just remember I just turned and I just started falling to the ground. And I just remember saying like, God, this can't be my time, you know? And I heard God say, it's not your time. And I just remember I just fell on the ground. And I was trying to like move a little bit. And then I remember I could like look up, and then he did another one. He shot me again. And I just felt like this current of energy just go through my body. And I didn't feel like physical pain so much. It was like a spiritual thing. I just felt all this energy and stuff. And I just laid on the ground, and I just remember I was like trying so hard to push up, and like all of my neighbors at this point had come out, and I heard screaming and crying and praying and all kind of things around me. And I was pushing so hard to get up. I was just pushing myself. And I remember one of my neighbors, he was like, "Oh, Soyini, just, don't move, baby, don't move." And I was like, and I was thinking, I want to get up and I want to kick his ass. Like that was like the fighter in me. I was like, but I couldn't get up. I just couldn't get up. My body, I couldn't get up. And I thought he had shot me in my spine or something because I couldn't move. And he left. And the thank God the police got there in like, I think they say like 5 minutes. They were like, apparently they were right at the end of the street. And so they came, they got me, and thank God, glory to be to God that everything just lined up the way it did, because they got me to the hospital. The chief of trauma happened to be there that night at that time. That's how I know the Lord is real, because he just lined everything up. And they got me, God is good. I'm here.
Yeah.
And one thing that just really makes me sad when I think about that is, my parents were way out in Oakland and I was in Maryland, and they get that call, and the whole thing is, nobody knows if I'm going to be here. Is my daughter going to be here? And they had to try to get a flight in January, right around the inauguration time, because that was for Obama's first, term. And so all the flights, of course, to DC were booked. And so, but somehow, thank God, they got a flight out there. But they had to I just think about how hard that was for them to get that call and have to fly across the country not knowing
Right.
what to expect, And so that's why I wrote a book, Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven. It's much more detailed than what I went through here. But it's important because that experience was hell. It really was for me. I mean, it was the worst thing that anybody can ever go through, and it was so bad because we never had an argument the whole time we dated. I never experienced violence in any relationship. There was no violence in that relationship.
Right.
So it was hell for me. Like, what is this? I don't even know what to do with this experience because I don't know anything about this. My friends don't, my family, this is foreign to me. And I knew that, like, when I was laying in the hospital bed, I just remember telling God, I was like, Lord, if you get me through this, I was like, I'll never stop sharing my story. And that's what I've continued to do. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I do a lot of speaking about it, because I want people to see that there is no face for domestic violence victims. We are all so very different, And if you come from a good home, a bad home, doesn't matter. It happens so often. So there's no typical face. And God bless anybody who's going through that, because it's horrible. It's horrible, and I'm so thankful that I survived it. I did lose my eye because of the second shot. I lost my eye, but I'm just thankful to be alive. I'm so very thankful to be alive, and so very thankful to to be here and to just to tell people and to be a testimony of how good God is, and even in the face of something so dangerous and so what was meant to kill me, because he had a plan, he had a gun, he had this all worked out, and and I'm here.
And you took it a step further with
Mhm.
sharing your story. You worked at
Mhm.
a domestic violence center,
Yeah,
life
I
coach
did.
as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, even when I was in corporate America, actually, when I was at Xerox, I started like, I found out about life coaching and I actually got certified to be a coach. So I had like a lot of skills, on life coach skills. And so that was great. And so when this all happened to me, then I had this domestic violence experience and I had the coaching background
Mhm.
too. So I went and I worked at a domestic violence center and I was the life coach there. So I was the one that would come in to the safe house and like really work with the ladies one on one and in groups and help them like rebuild their lives because no matter how extreme domestic violence is, like if you survive it, you still got to live. You still have to have a life, and you need somebody to help you kind of pull all that together. So that's what I was doing. And even now, I still do a lot of life coaching for domestic violence victims, but other folks too. But just because I had this experience, I know that God uses me a lot to help other victims and survivors.
Right.
Yeah.
And what did it look like for you? Because
Mhm.
there's that big thing that always comes when you talk about God and yourself
Mhm.
is there's forgiveness.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
was the experience like? Because in order to just push, move on with your life,
Right.
forgiveness had to take place.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, forgiveness is not a one-stop thing. Like
Right.
as recently as, gosh, a month ago, I had to forgive him. You know what I mean? This is like, damn, we're in 2022, and I still every once in a while I had to forgive him,
Right.
forgive that experience, forgive myself, for even having that experience in my life. So forgiveness is something that I think it truly is a process that you have to commit to because yeah, I had to start forgiving him very early on when that first happened because I realized if I don't, this is going to just anchor me into this situation for the rest of my life. I was like, I have to move forward. And to do that, I need to forgive him. I need to forgive those parts of myself that even had the consciousness and the mindset to attract anybody like that to me. So I had to forgive myself. That was really the first person I forgave is me. And then I extended that to him, you know. But yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, forgiveness is powerful.
Right.
That's kind of another. I have two books I'm working on. That's one with a big focus on forgiveness. I don't think there's never too much to say about that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And one thing you said,
Mhm.
well, a lot of things you said, but one thing you said,
Mhm.
that it was gonna be either you or him.
Yeah.
And then that night, God also had a plan,
Yes, you
and
did.
it
Yeah.
was that choice was
Mhm.
made. Ultimately, he did not make it that night.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and you did share about him taking his own life,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and that also being another place where now how can he pay for his sin,
Right.
what he did? You don't get to go to jail. You don't get to
Mhm.
try your accuser,
Mhm. Mhm.
so you have to really just take that forgiveness up like 12 notches
Oh,
and
yeah.
just
Yeah.
just to make sure that you're good every day because
Yeah.
every day is a process that you live through this moment and these experiences
Every day.
and even sharing
Yeah.
constantly just
Mhm.
to help others and provide them with tools. It's a relived experience.
I was just gonna say, you just reminded me of a memory I had. I could still see I used to just cry so much in the beginning because,
Mhm.
like you're saying, I was like, "Where's the justice for me?" Like, I
Right,
didn't feel like I got justice from law enforcement when he was alive, to
right,
prevent this. And you know, then he's gone, then there's still no justice. But, I had to say the justice for myself is to go out and live the life of my dreams, the life that I want to live.
that's
Just
right.
know what I mean? Like, that's how I win. That's how I get justice. God left me here. He kept me here for a specific reason. And so I'm just being who I was here to be. And that's the ultimate. That's justice. That's grace. That's everything.
And
That's everything.
that's the thing though.
Mhm.
When to be with God is to live.
Yes.
You
Oh,
you
amen.
have to
Mhm.
live and live
Mhm.
your life to the fullest of what you see
Amen.
your reality and your
Yeah.
dreams to be, and do
Yes.
that. Do
Mhm.
that in that moment and just
Right.
continue to do that.
Yeah.
And that's how we are always in alignment with God.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
noticed that you spoke about your book, Going Through Hell to Get to Heaven.
Yes. That's
Um,
my first
is
baby.
Yes, yes, yes. And where can we find your book?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can buy that here, and you can go to I only hold this up to so how people can see how to spell my name, but SoyiniWalton.com. You can also go to my website, and there's a link there. But Amazon, it's on Amazon, you know?
Having these experiences in
Mhm.
life, typically, I know for myself, I keep a therapist, and I
Yes.
actually need to get myself back to one. But
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I hear you. I hear you.
it's needed. So
Yeah.
having this experience, what
Uh-huh.
did you talk with a therapist to
Oh,
assist?
many times. Many times. It's funny, I was in the hospital for, like, almost just about a week,
Mhm.
and I told my parents I was terrified. I was like, "I'm not going back to my house because it's a crime scene." So we lived in a hotel for, like, a month until I had the guts to go back to my home because it
Mhm.
was yellow taped. It was a crime scene. And
Right.
so I can still remember getting, like, as soon as I got out the hospital, in the hotel, and I got a therapist, and she called, and we have a couple of sessions, and I'd be in the bathroom crying, have my little space in the bathroom crying and talking to the therapist. Oh yeah, it's real. It's real. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Definitely therapist. Absolutely.
So, did
Mhm.
anybody ever recommend to you to get your justice from at least the police department? Because at some point they should have been sued.
I know, I know. And that's, one of the most ironic things is that the last call that I made, to say, hey, he's banging on my door, and the officer came out and was like, oh, you're fighting with your boyfriend. Oh, ha ha. Not ha ha, but just like whatever. That officer actually, a few days, when he actually came back and did what he did, that officer was on call at night and had to see me
Mm,
injured. That was deep to me. That
mm,
was deep to me. So I know he realized, like, man, like,
mm.
I just saw her a few weeks ago, because I was trying to tell him. And I remember I was like, officer, I'm really scared. I was like, this happens. This is just, I'm terrified. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. And, you know,
He brushed it off.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
it's sad
I
because that's
don't
so
know.
typical.
Mhm,
It is.
mhm. It
And
is. If
it's
you don't
something
have children
people
together, if you're not married, I just feel like legally, maybe they can't do anything. I don't know, but there should be some protection because nobody should have to feel as vulnerable as I felt or other folks like me felt. Yeah.
so years later,
Mhm.
you meet your husband.
Mhm. A couple of
Yes.
years later, yeah, not even that long, like literally like 2 years later. Yeah, after everything happened, I moved back to California and healed. I got my MBA, and then, I was like, "Man, I still have my house in Maryland. I need to get back out there," And so when I moved back to Maryland, I met my husband, gosh, maybe like 2 months later, like right around the day before my birthday.
Mhm.
Yeah, it happened like that, and it was just clear that he was, a special person. He found out about what happened to me on his own. He Googled me, in other words, and he was just so compassionate and so caring, and like I just knew. I was like, oh yeah, we had a special connection. He cared a lot. Because I think I've said before that I had gone out with this other guy, and I told him about it like on our first date, and he just acted like I just ordered a hamburger or something. Like there wasn't no compassion. No, he didn't ask me a question at all. And I
Mhm.
was like, man, this is crazy. And I was like, I'll never share that again. And so when I met my husband, it was like I wasn't gonna say anything. I was like, whatever, I'm not telling him anything. And
Right.
so he found out, and it was just like he was just hurt that I didn't share that with him because he was like, I care about you, and all this stuff. So I was like, oh wow, this is it. So yeah, God bless me because that was something after I went through what I went through, I didn't know if I wanted to still get married, you know.
Right.
Could I trust somebody again? And did I want to, at times, can I move forward? Can I live? You know, do I want to live? You know, that's a very morbid thing to say, but honestly, there were times when I was like, I don't know if I could do this, you know,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
you're so emotionally and broken, you know. It
well,
was
yeah,
hard.
traumatic experience. And,
Mhm.
one thing about our minds,
Mhm.
goodness gracious, so many things flash
Mhm.
in our minds. We get so many thoughts,
Yeah,
and it becomes reality
it
sometimes.
does. It does.
And
Yeah.
nobody has any idea what's going on
Mm-mm.
but you,
No, they
right?
don't. But
Yeah.
yeah, I used to just lay in the bed at my parents' house just sobbing like, I really don't know how I wanna do this, you know? I really don't know,
Mm.
you know? Especially, like, losing my eye, and I mean, I could still navigate life, of course, but it was just like, man, you know, hospital bill, you know, it was a lot financially on me, you know? So yeah, it was a tough road, you know. And you just look at people differently after something like this, you know, because you know, like, wow, you could be a good person, live a good, you know, clean, you know, good life, and you can have someone that you cared about, you know, I never did anything wrong to him, and this happens. So it made me it took a lot of maybe if I was naive, which I don't think I was super naive. I've never been a naive person like that. But it took any of that I had left, it took it away because I'm like, "Nah, I've seen too much. I've seen how things can go," you know? I still have a heart for people, but I'm very, like I don't know, it's hard to explain. But just because I went through that, there's a certain little guard that I have up, you know?
I, well, definitely. It's
Mhm.
very understandable.
Yeah.
You need to look twice and then even
Yeah.
around the third time just to make sure.
Yeah.
I get
That's
it.
true. That's true.
Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay
Mhm.
to be cautious because you have to ensure that you're okay.
Mhm.
Know it all.
Mhm.
So, and it is absolutely amazing and awesome that you were able to receive your husband.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and you're still married. How long have you two
Yeah.
been
My
married?
gosh, it's 9 years, it'll be 10 years in June next year. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes, that's awesome.
it's amazing. Sometimes I'm like, wow, like, you know, I went back to got my MBA, got my husband, and we have a child, you know, we have a son. It's like, wow, God is good. I told you that this is justice to me. I'm living it, you know. I get to still be here and still live an amazing life, an amazing like part two, you
Yes,
know.
that's right.
Mhm.
That's right. The
Mhm.
enhanced version of Soyini.
Yes, I like that.
Enhanced version.
Yeah.
We definitely
Mhm.
appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate your journey, and we have gratitude for you taking time
Yes.
to share such heartfelt information
Yes.
so that others are able to take these tools and we can
Mhm.
learn from them. If anyone
Absolutely.
out there, by the sound of my voice, um,
Mhm.
recognizes any of the behavior or feel that
Yes.
your life is in danger or just something's not right, seek
Right.
some help,
Need some
seek some
help.
type of refuge.
Mhm.
Um, just something. Tell
Something.
somebody, talk to somebody. Let's
Talk
get
to
some
somebody
research done. Yeah.
and go on, the hotline.org. Yeah, the hotline.org, it's like the National Domestic Violence Hotline,
Okay.
and, there's tons of resources there if you need to be connected with the safe house or if people need help developing a safety plan to exit that relationship, they can help with everything, and I have tons of resources in my book too, but the hotline is if anything is going on, go to that site, the hotline.
And also grab a therapist.
Mhm.
Grab
Yes,
a therapist
please.
and
Mhm.
talk because even there you can share the information
Mhm.
that sometimes a lot of people are real skeptical of sharing with their loved
Mhm.
ones and people near them.
Mhm.
And having that will also open up some more resources and give you direct access.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. True.
Well, gratitude.
I
So,
appreciate you guys so much. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for helping me get this message out, and I hope people are blessed and encouraged that, no matter what happens to you, you can always get back up. There's your story is never over until you're gone. But as long as you're here, you got a chance to make some different choices.
that's
So
right.
remember that.
That's
Yeah.
right. Be determined to live.
Be determined, exactly.
Be
And that's what
determined.
one of the detectives said to my father. He told my daddy that. He said, we were at Home Depot one day, me and my dad, and this guy kept looking at me. I was like, "What is going on?" So he came over. He told my father and me. He was like, "Oh, I was one of the detectives that was out that night," and he was like, "I've seen a lot of situations like yours," and he was like, and he looked at my dad. He was like, "Your daughter had the will to live." And he was like, "A lot of times when that situation happens, people just stop fighting." But he was like, "You had the will to live." And that just stuck with me. I did. I had the will to live. I didn't want to go. I wanted to be here. That was
Mm,
a choice that I made a long time ago. I want to be here. Even in my darkest moment, I was like, I want to be here. You make that choice. Whoever's listening to us, make that choice. Decide what you want. And
that's
if
right.
it's God's will, it will be.
That's
But I
right.
knew I wanted to be here.
Yes, gratitude, gratitude.
Mhm.
I was having a conversation with my husband,
Mhm.
and I was thinking, I was like, so what did everybody have in common? And I heard someone said,
Mhm.
they said that you know, I wanted to fight for my life. I didn't want to die. And I was like,
Mm.
it's not that they don't want to die. It's that
Mhm.
they have the will to
Yeah.
live. They had to be determined to have that
Yes.
will to live. Then you
Yes.
said it. It just sent something down
Mhm.
my spirit.
Mhm. It's
So
true.
yeah,
Your will is very strong.
that's right.
It's very strong. Ultimately, everything is up to the Most High, but your will, that's what you have. And I believe that comes from the Most High. So it's like, you got to have that in you. You just got to, mm-mm.
That's right. Because to
Yeah.
do what God wants you to do, that is live.
Yes.
It is to live. So
Mhm.
yes. Gratitude, gratitude,
Mhm.
gratitude.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and again, we really appreciate
Oh,
you for
absolutely.
out talking to us. Everyone at the sound of our voice, we want to thank you so much for listening. Gratitude
Yes.
you all for tuning in. Again, this is Studio
Mhm.
125 Multimedia Complex. I am your host, Natasha Janelle.
Mhm.
Again, Soyini Walton, we appreciate you for coming
Thank
and
you so much.
talking to us. And please also reach out to her. You have social media that you want to.
Mhm. Yes, so I'm on Instagram mostly, but Soyini Walton. That's my handle. Yeah. Or you could always email me if anybody wants to. Soyini Soyini Soyini@soyiniwalton.com.
And the website is Soyini Walton. And
Yeah,
please,
it's all Soyini Walton.
let's get the book.
Yeah,
We need to go ahead and get the book so we can read,
yeah,
we
for
can
sure.
be ready for 2023. We got 2 hot books
That's
coming
all.
and
That's it.
the ebook as well.
Yeah, then that's already there. So if you email me, I'll send you the ebook right now.
Awesome
Mhm.
sauce.
Mhm. Thank you guys
Gratitude.
so
So
much.
then I am going to sign off again. This is Natasha
Okay.
That was Studio 125 Multimedia Complex.